Buckle up, folks, because today we're going deep on two sources, and they're both pretty wild.
Yeah, I've got to say these are some of the more interesting ones we've covered.
Okay, so the first one, it reads like someone's online diary, right? But they claim to have worked for, get this, the Department of External Intelligence.
Probably heard of it.
Me neither. And then the other one, it's this super creepy story about a school shooting that's been totally scrubbed from the internet.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this. So, is it just paranoia, or could these actually be connected somehow?
That's exactly what we're diving into today.
Here goes the first story. I worked for a secret branch of the government. What I discovered shouldn't remain a secret, even if the truth is horrific. Until very recently, I was a project manager for the Department of External Intelligence, a government organization tasked with probing the boundaries of human consciousness and unraveling mysteries beyond the paranormal. The things I have witnessed far exceed our expectations of the universe and shouldn't remain hidden, even if the truth is horrific. If you are reading this, I am so sorry for what is to come. When I was younger, my parents pushed me hard for good grades, giving me the life they never had seemed to be their only duty, even if it meant that my childhood suffered. And I gave them what they wanted: the best marks in school, the hope of a successful career, and lots of money. Unfortunately, nobody, not even my cruel father, could have predicted that I would end up working for a secret branch of the government, one whose sole duty is uncovering facts that the mortal mind can barely comprehend. I started as a data analyst, but the executives soon realized that my skills could be better used elsewhere. It took just a few tests for me to be introduced to the psychical experiment sector, aimed at identifying uses for psychic phenomena. I was deemed to have special abilities and was told I could tap into a realm that few humans could. For a while, I was an agent for remote viewing. Essentially, my mind was used to spy on foreign nations. With some meditative steps, I was able to visualize complex environments and assist our army in pinpointing the locations of enemy bases. Was this ethical? I don't know, but it provided me with a sense of accomplishment, so I continued to do it. The more important I became in my job, the more I had to hide from my family and friends. My parents died thinking I was a pencil pusher for the government, and the few relationships I've had have remained short due to my secret life. The longer I've stayed with the department, the more information I have been given. But it was only once I became appointed as a project manager that I learned details that, if leaked, would change the world forever. I'm sure you have noticed the increased sightings of UFOs, or UAPs, in recent years. Their frequency has been at the center of my new position in the department. You see, these aren't vehicles piloted by little green men, they are beings themselves, classified internally as Seraphs. These entities have been visiting us for centuries. The Bible called them angels, the Quran named them Malaika, but they are the same things that have been seen in the sky of every continent on Earth. I was told that they didn't know where they came from or why they had visited us. Sadly, for them, I have a unique intuition and knew that was a lie. I had spent many hours in the office after hours, dissecting classified documents and logging into computers above my access level. The more vivid the details became, the more I questioned my actions. What if I uncovered something I didn't want to? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. A silly metaphor for a twisted reality I was soon to live. Took me many months, but I eventually pieced together why the 33rd floor of our building is off limits. The Department of External Intelligence has been communicating with the Seraphs and has a machine built for this sole purpose. Last week I used the device. It was a day like any other, at least that was the role I played. I scanned my card to enter the building and made my way to my office on the 24th floor. I put on a happy face as I greeted my companions in the rustic elevator, patiently waiting for the neon green screen to tick higher while soft synth sounds filled the cramped space. Finally reaching my secretary, I cleared my schedule and began to set the plan into motion. I couldn't take the elevator to my destination. The buttons skipped straight from 32 to 34. However, I did learn that a maintenance ladder runs up the building's spine. Applying some remote viewing techniques, I discovered an access hatch on floor 28, behind some servers. This was all I could gain as the department recently installed consciousness dampeners, blurring my external vision. Getting to the server room was easy, and it took but a small distraction to enter the hatch as I began climbing the maintenance ladder. I was on the 28th floor, but looking down it seemed as though the shaft stretched into an infinite abyss, with no end in sight. The department was unlike any other building, with winding corridors and frequent cases of spectral appearances. A ladder stretching to an impossible darkness seemed on brand. Entering the 33rd floor took some time, but with some minor effort, I was in the sector that only executives had access to. Standing in what appeared to be a reception area, the silence of my new environment startled me. I expected a welcoming party and planned to use my charm to reach the final destination. The department's building was informally named the Monolith, due to its brutalist design and tall concrete walls. The 33rd floor was no different, with a ceiling that stretched higher than one would have expected the facility to accommodate. The area I was in was adorned in a familiar old-school look featuring Persian carpets, homely lamps, and box computers. We were told that vintage technology offered better protection against hackers. I stood facing a door labeled Testing and Research. It seemed like the sign I needed, so I swiftly made my way through. Presented with a long corridor, I knew that my goal stood at the end. Walking past the many doors to my left and right, I saw what appeared to be ancient symbols. The sounds I heard from each of them were almost indescribable. Some seemed like soft moans, while others appeared to be painful screams. I have no idea what was being done in these rooms. The double wooden doors at the end of the corridor clashed with the concrete surrounding it, but I suppose this was another example of the department's unique style. Before I swung the doors open, I noticed the digital camera in the corner. I had surely been caught, so there was no time to waste. To say I was shocked by what I saw would be an understatement. I had expected a massive machine with tubes and towering screens. Instead, the room contained only a leather couch facing a bulky CRT TV perched on a wooden stand. There was nothing else, no furniture, no monitoring equipment, just an outdated entertainment setup in a cold concrete space. I edged closer and saw a remote resting on the couch. Surprisingly, there were no numbers, and the only button was a round red one for power. I had come this far, so I did the only thing that made sense. I sat on the couch, pressing the button. Bursting alive, the ocean of static flooded my mind, and it became clear that this was the machine I was after. It's hard to describe, but I felt as though I entered a state where time had no meaning. That's when I realized I wasn't alone. A seraph was there with me. I could sense them. It didn't speak words, yet I understood what was being communicated. Closer to a feeling, information appeared in my mind as though I manifested it, but I knew it was foreign. It was as though the seraph spent a few moments within my skin. At first, I asked my pre-planned questions. I wanted to know where it came from and why it was visiting Earth. I quickly learned that languages developed by humans are a prime illustration of our insignificance in the universe. This is the best way I can put it. If you think about a house with every room being a planet, we can move from one room to another, a crude metaphor for space travel. If we are sitting in the living room, the seraphs have always been here, in a place that occupies the same space but in reverse. Mirrored dimensions, two areas next to each other, but because they are back to back, one doesn't notice the other. The seraph told me that the reason that so many of them have decided to visit us is that they are partaking in a great harvest. They have made their way through many universes, and now it was our turn. Human souls hold special meaning in their existence, and it is only through our death that they can be harvested. Through it all, I had no fear. The seraph comforted me and guided me along each stage of the conversation. It whispered wise truths and made me feel as though my normal life had been but a dream compared to true reality. With my mind barely comprehending the secrets I had learnt, the TV zapped off, leaving a brief imprint of static as it slowly turned pitch black. I had been told too much, perhaps more than I wanted, and so I ran to the door. By the time I had reached the floor's hatch, 2 department officials were already there to arrest me. Their voices appeared calm, yet the grip on the concussion devices remained firm. They had a clear intent to take me down with whatever force was necessary. What happened next I don't remember. It seems as though a few minutes were wiped from my memory. I recall putting my hands behind my head in surrender. When I came to, my hands gripped the jagged edge of a broken lamp, with corpses slumped at my feet. 2 dead bodies lay before me, mangled into a portrait of ripped flesh. I had to escape. I would surely be locked up for something I don't remember doing. Diving into the maintenance hatch, I flew down the ladder as quickly as I could, racing out of the building while trying to hide the blood on my clothes. I believe some people saw the stains, but they could have just as easily been staring at a madman running through a government facility. I am writing this message on a library computer. I dare not go home, as I will surely be found there. On the run for 7 days now. I don't know what is going to happen, but the world deserves to know the truth. Great pain and mass deaths are coming. I know this because the Seraph has continued to talk to me, giving me instructions for the coming months. I refuse to die, and so I made a deal. I will help them. I will be a harvester in human form. In return, they will ensure that my soul remains eternal. My whole life I have been controlled by my father, by the department, but this pact was mine to make. For the first time in my life I felt powerful. If you are reading this, I am so sorry for what is to come. Hold your loved ones tight and enjoy the time you have left. We will find you. You cannot hide forever. That first one gave me chills. Here goes the second story. I'll never forget March 3rd, 2017. To most people it's just a random day, but for me it's a wound that won't stop bleeding. That's the day 17 people lost their lives in Oclatagee, Oklahoma, thanks to James Rexon, the shooter. He didn't leave anyone alive. After taking so many innocent lives, he ended it all by turning the gun on himself. I still see his face sometimes in my nightmares, completely blank, like he had already accepted what he was about to do, like it was just part of his plan. But the thing that haunts me the most isn't just the shooting itself, it's everything that happened after. Or rather, what didn't. James Rexon filmed the whole thing. Hundreds of us saw it, either live or on the internet hours later. His manifesto, a twisted, rambling 37-page document, was spread around. He explained in disturbing detail what led him to that point. But then, just like that, it was gone. Every trace of it. The stream, the manifesto, everything. Vanished without a trace. No clips. No screenshots. Not even a whisper on the dark web. At first, I thought it was just the world trying to forget. People didn't want to remember. But now I know better. For years I searched. I dug through every corner of the internet. Contacted people who said they saw the video or read the manifesto. Most never responded. The ones who did, though, told me to stop. They warned me that it wasn't worth the risk. Then one night I got an email. The subject was simple. You're not alone. It was a throwaway account. No name, no profile picture. Just a short message. I have what you're looking for. The manifesto and the stream. But we need to talk first. No promises it's safe. Attached was a blurry, black and white scan of the first page of the manifesto. The title? The Final Lesson. My heart raced as I stared at it. I didn't know whether to feel relief or terror. I replied, and within minutes I got a new message. It had an address about 2 hours outside of Oclatagee. No phone number, no instructions, just an address. When I arrived, I found an old farmhouse, paint peeling, windows boarded up, like it had been abandoned for years. But as I got closer, I noticed a faint light shining through the cracks. The door creaked open before I even had the chance to knock. A man stood in the doorway, face hidden in shadows. He looked older than I expected, his eyes sunken, but there was something about him that made me hesitate. You came, he said, motioning for me to enter. Inside, the smell of mildew hit me. The man sat down at a cluttered desk and gestured to an old laptop. I have it, he said, but you won't be able to keep it. Every time someone tries, it's erased. It's like it knows. I didn't understand what he meant, but he opened 2 files on the laptop, one labeled manifesto.pdf, the other livestream.mp4. Watch this, he said, double-clicking the video. The screen flickered, and there it was. The cafeteria, the screams, the chaos. James Rexon walked through the halls, narrating his actions in a cold, detached voice. It was worse than I remembered. After a few minutes, the man paused the video. Record what you can. It's the only way to hold onto it. I pulled out my phone, hands trembling, and started recording. The video continued. James entering a classroom. raising his gun as students begged for their lives. I could hardly keep the camera steady as the horror unfolded before me. And then it happened. The laptop flickered again. The video disappeared. My phone shut off mid-recording. When I turned it back on, the video was gone. The man slammed his fist on the desk, cursing under his breath. "They're on to us. You need to leave. Now." I barely made it out of that farmhouse when I heard tires crunching on gravel. A black SUV pulled into the driveway, its headlights cutting through the dark. Two men in suits stepped out, their movements calm and deliberate. I didn't stop running until I was deep in the trees, my heart racing. I never saw the man again. Now I'm back to square one. The truth is still out there, but it's buried deeper than ever. It's not just erased, it's hunted. Someone, something, is doing everything they can to keep it hidden. The manifesto, the live stream, the pieces of that day, they're still out there. But every time someone tries to remember, tries to hold on to it, it disappears again. If you ever find anything at all that connects to what happened that day, be careful. They're watching, and they'll do whatever it takes to make sure the truth never sees the light of day. If you like listening to us so far, please subscribe. Thank you.
Well, let's start with this Department of External Intelligence then.
Right. So the author says it's all about, exploring the edges of human consciousness, even beyond the paranormal.
Okay, so fringe science stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And get this, he starts out as a data analyst.
Normal, boring.
Total cubicle job, but then he gets pulled into this psychical experiments sector.
Hold on, they have a whole sector for that.
Apparently, and they train him to be a, quote, remote viewing agent.
Meaning?
Using his mind to spy on other countries.
Whoa. Okay, that's taking it up a notch.
Right. So it's on one hand, you have this totally normal government job, but then on the other hand, they're training him to have psychic powers.
Yeah. Talk about a weird Monday morning meeting.
Seriously.
Yeah.
But it gets even weirder. So as he's doing this remote viewing thing, he starts uncovering, deeper secrets, things the higher-ups don't want him to know.
Uh-oh. Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
You got it. And this is what leads him to the Seraphs.
But who?
The Seraphs. They're these beings, hold on, let me check my notes. They're these beings who he says have been visiting Earth for centuries, showing up in different cultures as, angels.
Oh, okay. Like divine messengers?
Yeah, something like that. Except the author claims they're not as benevolent as we might think. And, well, he should know.
Right, because he's been spying on them with his mind.
Yeah.
So he's saying these angels are actually bad.
Basically. And this is where things get really, really dark. So he discovers there's this machine on the 33rd floor of the department building.
33rd floor. That's high up.
Right. And it's completely off limits.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah. Forbidden knowledge, all that.
Ugh.
So he sneaks up there using a maintenance ladder. It's nuts. This crazy shaft with an impossible drop. And then he finds this room.
What's in the room?
I'm getting to that. So the room's super fancy, but also super creepy. All this antique furniture, strange symbols on the doors. Sounds just like a spy movie, right?
Yeah, totally. I'm picturing dim lighting, musty air, that kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. And he can hear these weird sounds coming from behind the door. So obviously he's expecting something big, some super high-tech machine. But then he opens the doors and...
Don't tell me it's just an empty room.
Not empty, but almost. There's just a couch and an old school CRT TV. That's it.
What? That's the machine.
Yeah.
The thing that's supposed to let him talk to angel beings. A TV.
Apparently. So he sits down, presses the power button on the remote, and suddenly his mind is filled with this static, an overwhelming rush of white noise.
It doesn't sound very pleasant, like sensory overload or something.
Yeah, I can't imagine. But then, through the static, he encounters the Seraph.
Wait, so the TV's like a portal or something?
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And the Seraph starts talking to him about, everything. It describes existing in a dimension that's like ours, but in reverse. A mirror image.
Mirror dimension. Okay, we're officially in sci-fi territory now.
Right. And get this, the Seraph says they've been here all along, just beyond our perception.
So they're always watching us.
Basically. And they're here for a reason, a very specific reason, and it's not a good one. They're conducting a, quote, great harvest of human souls.
Hold up. Harvesting human souls. That's intense.
Yeah, this is where it gets even darker. So apparently human souls are valuable to them, they need us to die in order to collect them.
I'm definitely getting some bad vibes from these angels.
Me too. But here's the crazy part. the author isn't scared at all. In fact, he's like totally comforted by the Seraph. Like, it's given him access to these profound truths, and now normal life seems boring.
Oh no, this is not good. It's like he's being seduced by this knowledge.
Exactly. And then, just like that, the communication ends, the TV shuts off, he's back in the room, and he realizes he's been told too much.
Well, yeah. He just learned that angels are real and want to harvest our souls.
Yeah.
That's probably not something you want to share at the water cooler.
Right. So he tries to escape, but it's too late. 2 department officials are waiting for him.
Oh man, they caught him.
Yeah. And they're armed with these concussion devices, whatever those are.
Sounds painful. Probably designed to wipe his memory or something.
That's what I was thinking. So he remembers surrendering, putting his hands up, but then blank. His memory goes out.
Oh, that's creepy. Like a missing chunk of time.
Right. And when he comes to, he's got a broken lamp in his hands, and there are 2 dead bodies at his feet.
Whoa. Hold on. He killed them.
It sounds like it, yeah. But he doesn't remember doing it.
So what happened? Did the concussion devices malfunction? Or did something else happen during that missing time?
That's the mystery, right? So obviously he's freaked out. Covered in blood, he manages to escape. But he knows they'll be hunting him.
I'd be running too.
Totally. So he writes this whole message, like a desperate plea to the world from a library computer.
A dying declaration.
Yeah, kind of. And he says all this stuff about mass death and pain coming because the Seraph is still communicating with him, giving him instructions.
It's controlling him.
That's what it seems like. And then he drops this bomb. He refused to die, so he made a deal with the Seraph. He's going to help them, become a harvester himself in exchange for eternal life.
That's messed up. So he's basically gone to the dark side.
Yeah, he's all in. And he ends the message with this chilling warning. We will find you. You cannot hide forever. And then that's it. He's gone.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got angels from a mirror dimension who want to harvest our souls, a secret government agency trying to cover it all up, and a guy who's made a deal with the devil, basically.
Basically, and that's just the first source. So that was a lot, right? I mean, interdimensional beings, soul harvesting, government conspiracies.
Definitely a lot to process.
Yeah, no kidding. But believe it or not, the second source we're looking at today might be even more disturbing. It's this story, and it's about a school shooting that's been completely erased, like vanished, poof.
Erased how? Like scrubbed from the internet.
Exactly. It's like someone took a giant digital eraser and wiped away any trace of it ever happening. It's super creepy. So the narrator, he talks about this shooting at his old high school, March 3rd, 2017, Okotogi, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Okay.
Yeah, so this student, James Rexon, he killed 17 people and then himself. But here's the thing, everything about it, like the video Rexon filmed, his manifesto, it's all gone. Like it never even existed.
It's unsettling. I mean, to think that something that horrific could just be like erased from history.
Yeah.
It's disturbing. It makes you wonder what else might be hidden from us.
Right. And that's exactly what the narrator is trying to figure out. He's spent years like scouring the internet, trying to find any piece of evidence that this shooting actually happened.
So what's he found?
Well, not much at first. He contacts people who say they remember it, who claim to have seen the video or read the manifesto, but it's like they're all scared to talk about it, or they deny it ever happened.
Wow. So there's this like collective amnesia surrounding this event.
It seems that way. It's like there's this wall of silence, and the more he digs, the more warnings he gets to stop asking questions.
So someone or something is actively trying to suppress this information.
That's what it looks like. But then one night, he gets this email, totally out of the blue.
What does it say?
It's really cryptic. The subject line just says, "You're not alone." And the message itself, it says, the sender has what he's looking for, the manifesto, the live stream.
So he finally got a lead.
Yeah, but there's a catch. They want to meet in person. And they warn him that, quote, "It's not safe to talk about this."
Ooh, that's ominous. Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat now.
Right. And then there's this attachment. It's a scan page, all blurry, but you can make out the title, The Final Lesson.
The final lesson. That's heavy.
Yeah, seriously. So the narrator, he replies to the email, and almost immediately he gets another message. This time it's just an address. An old farmhouse, about 2 hours outside of Okotogi.
So he goes, right?
Of course he goes. He's been searching for this for years. So he drives out to this farmhouse. It's like in the middle of nowhere, totally isolated, and it looks completely abandoned. But there's this faint light coming from inside.
Spooky. So what happens next?
Well, before he can even knock, the door creaks open.
Hmm.
And there's this man standing in the doorway. His face is like hidden in the shadows.
Okay, yeah, this is getting creepy. It's like a horror movie or something.
Totally. So the narrator, he's obviously hesitant, but he goes inside. The man leads him to this old laptop. And he says, yeah, he's got the manifesto and the live stream, but he warns him that he won't be able to keep them.
What does he mean?
He says every time someone tries to copy them or record them, they just disappear. It's like it knows, he says.
It knows. Okay, that's just chilling. It's like whatever is behind this is like sentient or something, aware.
Yeah.
And it doesn't want this information getting out.
Exactly. So the narrator, he's like, okay, whatever, just show me. And the man, he plays the video. It's the shooting, the cafeteria, the screaming, the chaos. It's all there. And Rexon is just like calmly narrating his actions as he moves through the school.
Wow. I can't even imagine having to watch that.
Yeah, it's intense. After a few minutes, the man pauses the video and he tells the narrator to record what he can because it's the only way to hold on to it.
Recorded with what? His phone?
Yeah, his phone.
Yeah.
So the narrator, his hands are shaking, but he starts recording as the video continues. Rexon walks into a classroom, raises his gun, the students are begging for their lives, and then all of a sudden the laptop just flickers and the video is gone. And the narrator's phone, it shuts off.
It just shuts off.
Yeah, mid-recording, and when he turns it back on, the video is gone. Just like that.
That's messed up. So it's not just like deleting files. It's messing with the technology itself.
But it's like it knew he was trying to record it, like it was watching.
Okay, that is seriously creepy.
Right. So the man, he freaks out, starts cursing, tells the narrator to get out now.
He knows something's coming.
Yeah. And as the narrator is leaving, he sees headlights in the distance. A black SUV pulls up. Two men in suits get out. No words, just like these cold, calculating movements.
Men in Black, classic.
Totally. So the narrator, he doesn't stick around to find out what they want. He runs, escapes into the woods.
Smart move.
Yeah. And he never sees the man or the video ever again.
So he's back to square one.
Basically. But now he knows for sure that this isn't just some random event that faded from memory. It's being actively suppressed, hunted.
Someone or something
Yeah.
is going to great lengths to keep this quiet.
Exactly. And it makes you think, if they can erase a school shooting, what else can they erase?
Right. It's a scary thought, but also kind of makes you want to keep digging, doesn't it? Like,
Yeah.
what else is out there that we don't know about?
Well, that's the thing, right? We've got these two sources, one about interdimensional beings harvesting souls, the other about a school shooting that's been wiped from existence. And you got to wonder, could they be connected somehow? It's easy to get lost in the big ideas here. But we're talking about a real person, someone who says they saw this shooting firsthand, read the manifesto, the whole thing. And now he's risking everything to try to uncover the truth.
Yeah, you're right. It's easy to forget that there's a human element to all of this. This isn't just some abstract theory.
This is someone who's been deeply affected by what happened. He spent years, years, searching for answers, going down these internet rabbit holes, contacting people, even meeting that creepy guy in the farmhouse.
It makes you think about the psychological impact of something like this. I mean, to have your reality, your memories questioned and dismissed, that's got to be incredibly difficult to deal with.
And even dangerous, right? Like, what if he's not wrong? What if something really is going on, something bigger than we can imagine?
Well, that's the thing about these kinds of stories, isn't it?
Yeah.
They force us to confront the limits of our own understanding, to question what we think we know about the world.
And in this case, it's not just about questioning what happened. It's about questioning who we can trust. I mean, if the government or whoever is behind this cover-up is willing to erase something as horrific as a school shooting, what else are they capable of?
It's a chilling thought, for sure. It makes you wonder what other truths are being hidden from us, manipulated, or just plain erased.
And why? Why go to all this trouble to keep this shooting a secret? What's so special about it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? What makes this particular event so dangerous that it needs to be wiped from history? Is it the shooter? The victims? Or is there something more to it, something we haven't even considered?
Maybe there's a connection to the first source, right? The one with the Seraphs. What if this shooting somehow ties into their whole soul harvesting plan?
It's possible. I mean, we don't have enough information to say for sure.
Yeah.
But the idea that these two stories could be linked, that there's some larger, sinister force at play, it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you want to keep digging, doesn't it? Like, what other connections are out there? What other information is being hidden from us? It's It's like we're just scratching the surface here.
That's the nature of a deep dive. You start pulling on one thread and it leads to another and another, and pretty soon you're down this rabbit hole questioning everything you thought you knew.
And that's kind of the point, right? To challenge our assumptions, to open our minds to possibilities we might not have considered before.
Exactly. It's not about finding all the answers. It's about asking the right questions and being willing to confront the uncomfortable truths that those questions might lead to.
Well, I think we've definitely asked some big questions today. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little more unsettled than when we started.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But also kind of energized. Like, I want to keep exploring these ideas, keep digging for more information.
That's the thing about a good deep dive, right? It leaves you with more questions than answers. But it also sparks this curiosity, this drive to learn more. And that's what we hope we've achieved today. To inspire our listeners to think critically, to question what they're told, and to never stop searching for the truth, no matter how strange or disturbing it might be.
Well said. And remember, folks, if you come across any stories that challenge your perception of reality, we want to hear about them. Share your thoughts, your theories, and your experiences. Because sometimes the most unsettling stories are the ones that lead us to the most profound truths.
That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, everyone, and stay curious.